This is the IBJ podcast for the week of August 11th, 2025, brought to you by Taft. I'm your host, Mason King. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. You might already be familiar with filling out the FAFSA form, or you might only know it by reputation. That reputation is somewhere between filing your annual income taxes and running an Ironman triathalon. Revisions, technology issues, and widespread confusion over the availability of the form over the past 2 years might make it seem even more sinister. But let's back up. What is the FAFSA? If you have a child finishing high school this school year, the FAFSA plays a big part in determining how much financial aid you could receive, including grants, loans, and scholarships, to help pay for college. In Indiana, most families are now required by law to fill out the FAFSA unless they seek a waiver. Despite recent tumult, all signs point to the FAFSA being ready to fill out this year by the traditional launch date of October 1st. Our guest this week is Bill Wozniak, Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer of InvestEd, a nonprofit based in Indianapolis and created by the Indiana Legislature to help families navigate the FAFSA process. He provides an overview for the uninitiated and shares some of the biggest misconceptions of FAFSA. For example, if you think you are sufficiently wealthy to put any financial assistance out of reach, you very well could be wrong. If you think you just need to get it done by the end of the year, you might want to think again. And, Wozniak says, the process isn't nearly as arduous today as its reputation might suggest. Here's our conversation. It's my pleasure to welcome to the podcast Bill Wozniak, Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer for InvestEd. Bill, thanks for making time to come to the studio today.
Thank you for having me.
Let's get right into it. I have a son who just entered the 4th grade. How soon do I need to fill out the FAFSA?
FAFSA is going to be senior year of high school. That's the good news.
Oh,
FAFSA will be senior year of high school.
That's good. Okay.
Yes.
You pick up so much anxiety about FAFSA, from talking to your friends who have other kids, have their own kids. And, it's just really interesting to me, how it feels like it's lingering on the horizon, like a giant eagle. But I don't have to worry about it until senior year.
In this instance, you do not have to worry about the FAFSA form until senior year of high school. I can definitively say that. Yes.
Okay. So let's say that my son just started his senior year of high school. What dates do I need to be aware of right now in terms of preparing for the FAFSA?
So, the FAFSA is going to launch on October 1st. So the FAFSA for the upcoming year for a high school senior this year that will be going to college in the fall of 2026. That FAFSA opens on October 1.
That means it's available for me to fill out.
That is correct.
Online.
That is correct. And the last couple of years, October 1 has kind of been a squishy date, which is very unusual. But we have been told, and there's reason to believe, that October 1 is going to happen this year. It's going to take place. It's going to happen. But as far as dates to be really cognizant of, before you file the FAFSA, at least a few days, you want to get your FSA ID, and that's basically your signature for the FAFSA. The student will get an FSA ID, which is their signature for the FAFSA, but you can't finalize the FAFSA without that FSA ID, and that can take a couple days to get finalized and set, so you want to do that before you file the FAFSA.
Where do I get those things?
You'll go to the Federal Student Aid site, you'll go to the FAFSA site, you'll go to the Federal Student Aid page, and right there's a notice saying, do you have your FSA ID? It's the beginning of the process.
So I shouldn't search my son's backpack to see if his teacher gave him his FSA ID.
Now, maybe the school is distributing things that are alerting you about it, but otherwise, no, there will not be something in the backpack about the FSA ID.
So I would get that information the same place, more or less, that I would fill out.
Yes.
That stuff. And again, give us that email address.
Yes.
Or not email, give us what do they call it? The web?
Yeah, FAFSA.gov, Federal Student Aid, the Federal Student Aid website, FAFSA.gov. And on there will be a reminder and a notice about FSA IDs. And that's why so many times we'll go to a high school and be working with some families and they're ready to get it filed. They want it done that night, which is a very good thing. But we encourage people to get that FSA ID ahead of time because that is not an immediate process. It strengthens the security of it, but there can be this couple-day delay. So your first thing that you want to make sure you get done is to get that FSA ID, the parent and the student, before you undertake the FAFSA.
Okay. What are a few of the other really important dates?
So once we get the FAFSA filed, then the next thing that we really key on is what is the date that the college or colleges that you're looking at that they want the FAFSA. So they will say, we want it by November 1st, or we want it by December 1st. And again, just looking at the last couple years, schools would say we want it on November 1st, but the FAFSA wasn't even open.
Right.
So the calls that would come in and families that were very nervous, the colleges knew there wasn't a FAFSA to be filed, but families see it on a website and they get nervous. So that date that the college wants the FAFSA by is the next one. Sometimes it's November 1, sometimes it's December 1. It changes by school.
I was under the impression that in Indiana, it is now required that you fill out the FAFSA.
So there is absolutely a requirement that you file the FAFSA in your senior year of high school. There is an opt-out where you can opt out. So that requirement has helped, as the big news of the week, the 60% goal of last year for seniors filing the FAFSA in Indiana was achieved.
Even with the legislation.
For last year,
they got to 60%.
They got to 60%.
That's it.
Which is actually a higher number. And as far as states go, Indiana's now in the top group.
Good God.
It is. It's in the top group now. Yes. And
that's still only 60.
That is
okay,
correct.
But we're not including graduates who are not going
correct,
not receiving any kind of post-secondary education.
Correct. That's what exactly.
Okay.
That's where
people
where
go to the military. People who just get a job.
Absolutely.
Right.
But that
people who take a gap year, whatever.
All the above.
Right.
That's exactly right. So there is the requirement. There is also an opt-out feature of that.
Okay. All right. We're already farther ahead than I wanted to be. Sorry. So we're going to focus mostly on the FAFSA. I know it's just a piece of the puzzle when it comes to paying for college. We will probably at the end tackle a little bit the question of saving money. What's interesting is, for these podcasts, really for anything that I've done over the last 35 years in journalism, I always do research ahead of time. And I did research for this podcast, and I still don't feel like I get it. Is that, do you hear that a lot from parents?
100%. So we work throughout the year all over the state, over 300 schools, thousands of events, and we meet experts in so many fields, wonderful, talented people. And the FAFSA and this process brings people to tears.
Yeah.
And it's just something that there's answers, there's a process, there's a way to get it done, but it is very intimidating, and that is very common, and that's what we try to alleviate.
Okay. Very quickly, tell us what InvestEd is.
So InvestEd is a nonprofit founded back in 1980 with the mission of helping Indiana students get additional education beyond high school, understand how to pay for it, and have less debt in the process.
Right. So you don't have a dog in the race. You're charged by the governor and the legislature just for helping Indiana families get the most they can out of the process of trying to pay for college.
The mission is help with the literacy aspect of understanding and succeeding at this process, and then ideally having less debt as well when you get done.
Okay, great. How about this? What's a FAFSA?
The free application for federal student aid, which even the name is a misnomer. So it's the free application for federal student aid. And as we know, Indiana gives a generous amount of financial aid. But to get that, you have to file the FAFSA. So you tell families about the free application for federal student aid, and then families, rightly so, ask, well, what form do I fill out for state aid? It's like, well, the FAFSA. It's the same form.
So here's what I gather. So I fill out the FAFSA. So that tells me about how I would be eligible as a student, I guess, but also my family, my folks, if that's how my family is set up. It tells me what kinds of federal aid would be available, but the state also uses it to figure out how much state aid might be available, and colleges use it to figure out what kinds of colleges and universities or what have you use it to figure out how I might be eligible for the aid that they give out.
Yes.
So it's kind of it's the one form that rules them all.
That's exactly right. And I like the way you phrased use it. That's it. The FAFSA is much like the 1040 for taxes. The form is taking in the information, and then things are done with that information. And that's what the FAFSA is. The FAFSA is taking in the information that is needed and then getting the signature and the authorization. But that's exactly right. The federal government needs it to do the Pell Grant and other programs. The state needs it for the O'Bannon Grant and the 21st Century Scholars Grant and other programs. And then the colleges use it for institutional aid and other programs. Everybody works off that information.
Okay. That makes sense. That sounds like a good idea.
It is.
Okay. Is the FAFSA just for students planning to attend a four-year college and graduate school, or is it necessary if I'm going to a community college or a career school?
Absolutely. So for the community college, absolutely. And so what we always tell everyone is the safest move is if you're going to be doing anything post-secondary after high school, file the FAFSA, get it done. And one of the main reasons for that directive is sometimes students think, I'm not going to, and then you get to September or late August and the mind gets changed. You don't want to be scrambling at that moment. You'll have enough other scrambling to do. So get it done. But the short answer, as far as community college, you absolutely want to file the FAFSA, as well as for four-year or for graduate school or things like that. Yes.
Let's take a look at the kinds of aid that are available. When we talk about federal aid, tell me about the range of things that might be available.
And the Pell Grant is the biggest, is the marquee show as far as federal aid. The Pell Grant really takes the cake and leads the story there. So that's the big one as far as federal aid. The other part of federal financial aid that is a big story that you might not think of is the federal student loan. So when you want the federal student loan, you file the FAFSA. So that's the part where when we talk to families, they say, well, that's not financial aid. And it's counted as financial aid. So that Stafford loan, the unsubsidized or the subsidized Stafford loan, the student loan as we would basically refer to it as, you file the FAFSA for that as well.
So I'm going to say that the Pell Grant is I hate to say this, free money. It's a grant. This is just money that I don't have to pay back. The student loan is money I have to pay back.
The FAFSA information will absolutely be used for the Pell determination of eligibility within the range of Pell for a certain year. That information on the FAFSA will drive the boat on that amount. But for the student loan, as long as there is need from the college, the student is eligible to take that loan.
What do you mean need from the college?
Right. So financial need, it's a technical term. It's not just, hey, I need, it's a technical term. So you take the cost of attendance at the college you're looking at. Let's say it's $10,000 a year.
Funny. Okay, go ahead.
We're using round numbers.
All right.
So let's say it's $10,000 a year, and you have other aid for $5,000. Okay. You would be eligible to take up to $5,000 of that student loan.
To cover whatever other forms of aid are not covering.
Correct. Okay. So you work from the cost of attendance that every school has to have, and then you start subtracting, as you said, Pell does not have to be paid back. So you'd go right to Pell, you'd knock that off. Let's say the student is getting the O'Bannon grant here in Indiana or something along those lines.
Again, that's a grant. That's just money.
Absolutely. So you'd knock that off. These are the things, this is the buffet items that you would go to one by one by one. And then you get to financial aid that is a federal student loan, but a different type of aid as you and I would understand it. And that's why you have to go in order in this process.
Oh, okay. But again, the federal student loan, I am paying, I have to pay back. And this, I mean, we talk about, the high degree of student debt that comes from college all the time. So I assume most folks are familiar with it, or if they're not already paying off their own. This is a super dumb question, but when we say it's a federal loan, does that mean that it comes from the federal government? The money comes from the federal government? Or is there some other distinction I'm not aware of?
No, it's the federal student loan. Back until 2008, 2009, some of the money came from the federal government and some of the money came from banks or companies and organizations.
Yeah, that's what I recall from grad school. Yeah.
Yes. Until 2008, 2009, it was called the FELP program, the Federal Family Education Loan Program. It was the FELP program. But as of 2009, that went away. So anything on the federal side comes from the federal government as far as those loans.
Got it. Thank you. That's good to know. Okay, let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsor. This is the IBJ Podcast.
Taft, today's modern law firm, with more than 800 attorneys in 8 primary Midwest markets and the District of Columbia, we provide solutions to the business issues facing middle market and emerging companies alike. We do this through a highly collaborative and inclusive team approach. Taft, the modern law firm. To learn more, visit taftlaw.com.
All right, we're back with this week's edition of the IBJ Podcast and my conversation with Bill Wozniak on common misconceptions about the FAFSA. In terms of being eligible to fill out the FAFSA, are there some people who are eligible and some people who are not?
To file the FAFSA, you just have to be someone that is intending to go to any type of post-secondary education in the upcoming year or current year or upcoming year. And so a junior in high school or earlier is not going to be going to college in the next year. So they're not eligible just because of they're not done with high school, they're not ready for that level of education. But once you get to senior year of high school, or you're 27 or 37 or 47, and you want to continue on with some education, you're eligible to file the FAFSA.
Okay. What information am I going to need? What do I need to put in front of me on my desk while I'm filling this out? Oh, and actually, here's a question. Does the student necessarily need to fill it out, or is it the parents filling it out?
So, the FSA ID that we spoke about. Mm-hmm. So the FSA ID is filled out by the student. The student says, "Hi, I'm student X, and I'm going to be filling out the FAFSA," and I give my information, and I now have an FSA ID. That is then used to invite the parent who's going to be giving the most of the information that ends up really driving the force, right? Most students don't make what their parents make and things like that. So you do the FSA ID first. You then invite the parent, and that takes place. And that's how the process all gets going at the start. So when that invitation goes, the student is filling out their part of the FAFSA, and then the same questions are going to be asked of the parent. But for the student, a lot of times the numbers are 0, 0, 0.
Oh, I see.
Right?
I see what you're saying.
And
so there's I potentially have an income. I potentially am a 17-year-old entrepreneur who makes or YouTuber who makes $100,000 a year. So I still need to be able to put my financial information in there, but then my parents also have to as well.
Yes, there is a student section and then the parent section. And the student will do their part. Now, oftentimes the parents are helping the student with their student part, right, at the same time. And then the student invites the parents, and then the parents put their information in. And one of the things is sometimes the parents aren't keen on everything being shown and shared or sitting at the same computer screen at the same moment. So this way, the student sends the invitation, the parents get the information, the parents can put their information in, and the two parts become a whole. The student section and the parent section. Yeah.
I get it. So I don't want my son to know the full extent of my financial situation. I need to do it separately. So I take that invitation, take my laptop down to the basement and fill it up. Now, what kinds of things are they going to ask me about?
So the great news here is the tax returns and the boxes of information that used to be needed for the FAFSA. And all the time we hear about, I'm going to have to bring 400 boxes of information because in the old days, you kind of did. The great news now is that the FAFSA is connected to the IRS. And so the information...
You mean the notoriously Luddite IRS? All of that stuff is connected now?
The stuff is connected, and in the FSAID, you are going to authorize the information to be passed on through.
Okay.
As of a year or two ago, the question of can the information be passed on through was in the FAFSA form, and that now has migrated over into the FSAID process. So the authorization happens in that FSAID process, and then when you're filling out the form, there's calls all the time where families say, this went faster than I thought. And the main reason...
What did I do wrong?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that you just stole our favorite line. Our favorite line is, if it went fast, you probably did it right. Like if you think you did it wrong, you probably did it right.
So I'm just asking or telling the IRS, whatever, say that share my returns.
Share the information that is needed on the FAFSA.
Right.
In the form that it is needed from my tax return.
And that's working.
And it is.
That's great.
And this is the thing when families say, I know for a fact the FAFSA takes 7 hours and it's going to take me 3 days and 2 Gatorades. That's not the case anymore in most cases. And the main reason why is it's called the IRS data retrieval. It gets sent through automatically and populates into the FAFSA, which is great for a lot of families.
I was going to ask if there's pushback from families about sharing, personal savings accounts or information about their investment accounts or their assets. But it didn't occur to me, the government already knows about that stuff. It's already on my taxes.
So when we're working with families, the top, and maybe we should do the top 5, top 10 list.
Yeah.
But the top items that we hear, this is not going to help me. I am going to college. It's not going to help me. I'm not filing, which is often wrong. Secondly, I'm obligated to take a parent loan if I fill this out for my son, daughter, whoever. Mm-hmm. You're not obligated ever. You can get your FSAID. You can supply your information for the student. You're never obligated ever to take a loan. You give the information.
To take a loan as a parent.
Absolutely. Yeah. Even though you filed the FAFSA, even though you did the FSAID, everything, you're not obligated. And many families think, if I fill this out, I now have to take that parent loan or whatever. And that's not correct. And this is a common thought.
It itself is not an application for a loan.
100% not.
Yeah.
That's right. And then the next part after that is families often say, I just don't want that information out there. And as a personal story, my father, long ago, said, I don't want anyone to know this information. And so we lost financial aid that we would have received. He just didn't want to give the information. And that's relatively common. Yes.
Wow.
And that's a thing. And the first two we can address. No, you do not have to take a loan. Yes, you most likely will get aid. You don't have to take a loan by filing. The third one is just a personal preference that somebody doesn't want to share certain information.
Is there financial information that the FAFSA requests that isn't covered on my tax return?
So what it will ask about, and you mentioned it, was the investment part.
Okay.
So there are questions about investments. By the same token, there are many things the FAFSA doesn't care about. So retirement savings, like pure retirement savings, like 401k or something like that, right? It doesn't. That's not a thing. That's
Thank
not
God.
Yes. Yes. It's not a thing.
Okay.
But a checking account or a savings account or some account that you have where you're, saving for, for the future and whatnot, that isn't a 401k or things like that. Some of that savings definitely is in the mix.
Fascinating. Okay. So it would, just spitballing here, it actually would help me if I did have a bunch of, say, emergency cash lying around to actually roll that into my retirement savings.
So the interesting tidbit here, and this could be a whole week of shows, some of the dynamics of this, but when we work with families, there's sort of ranges of where people are, where the most difference would occur. Financial aid, the majority of financial aid goes to those that have the least. And so when we talked about the Pell levels, you literally could jump in a Pell level based on a relatively small amount of money. So that could make a big impact on a relatively small amount of dollars. As people might have $200,000 or $300,000 or $400,000 here or there, shuffling 48,000 of that in the grand scheme of things is often not a big change. The aid that a lot of families get, and it's significant, is institutional aid from the school. And you can have some of those savings. You can have that type of savings and still receive types of aid.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. So it really depends on where you are in this wide spectrum of wealth, in what will make a difference or what won't.
I recall when my nephews were applying to colleges, there'd be some colleges that would say, we want you to come here. We're going to cover half of it, just flat out. And that's their institutional aid. Half your tuition is gone now. So that would be an example. But and I'm fairly certain they didn't base that on the family's financial need.
There is a tool out there that we recommend to families all the time. It's a national tool, free tool, based on the information that the colleges supply to the government. It's mandatory. They have to share this information. And it's College Navigator. It's a College Navigator tool. And in there, you will see the average net price paid by income group for every school. So when we're on the phone,
after aid, after scholarships, after
correct,
right,
correct, and we'll be on the phone. Somebody will call. I'm going to Oregon 3rd Street College of whatever, and
I hear that's a good school.
We've heard good things.
Okay,
and we know a lot of schools. We don't know that school. And you go into College Navigator, and with a click of a button, you can see that for somebody making $80,000 to $90,000 a year, the average net price for 2 years ago at that school was X.
Right.
Now you see the cost of attendance, and you see the average net price for that income group. Now you have to work with the school, you have to file the FAFSA, you have to go through the steps. But the point that you just made, saying I could have some of this and I'm still going to get aid, the award letter said I'm getting this money from the institution, is backed up by the data on those sites. You see somebody makes $110,000 a year, yet their net price was this. That's not because of Pell. It's because of other aid.
Is it? Is my annual income the heaviest weighted determination for financial aid?
It's a very important part. Student income and student assets is very important because it's the student's education. And so in the grand scheme of how it's all being analyzed, the student is getting that education. It's their education. The parent has a level of obligation or responsibility in this, but the parent also has to focus on retirement and their future. And so the equation of how different assets and different amounts are weighted is a little bit like the quarterback rating in the NFL. Everybody knows 140 is a good score, but how do they come up with that? But the student assets and income is very, very important. The parent's income is definitely one of the big items, but it's one of many, but a big one.
Okay. Given that information, would I be smart to actually start planning a few years in advance and determining, what my income could look like over several years before we're required to fill out the FAFSA and to plan that way?
As much as you can. In most cases, the steps that can be taken have only so much value. How much of your overall income can you adjust to a grand scale? Planning ahead is a very good thing, but as far as salary, there's often only so many steps you can take to adjust that ahead of time that can make the significant difference some people would like.
Right. Okay. But it's possible.
Just like for other things, putting into a 401k, taking steps along those lines that are prudent for retirement and proper financial planning for the future, those are always good. And that's great here as well.
I think the thing that I got most hung up on was timing. What is the benefit of filling out the FAFSA as soon as possible, like October the 5th?
You'll see stories and posts across the country that state, file it today, it has to be done today, the money's about to be gone, go, go, go. And over the years, I have actually reached out to certain posters of this from national publications, and I've said, you've just scared the heck out of thousands and thousands and thousands of Hoosiers with your post. The two responses I always get is, well, planning ahead or, moving fast is a good thing. I said, no, I'm all for moving fast, but you implied there that the dollars are about to be gone. And the dollars, let's just take the O'Bannon grant or let's take the 21st Century Scholars Grant. It's not based on October 2nd, you get this, but on October 5th, it's gone. That's not how it's done. Indiana has the April 15th filing deadline. The state priority filing deadline is April 15th.
That's something that I would need to be aware of. It's
Absolutely.
April 15th if I'm interested in state aid.
April 15th is the big date. We have the opening date of October 1, then we have the priority deadline of the colleges, and then we have the April 15th Indiana FAFSA priority filing deadline. You do not want to miss April 15th.
I would go back real quick because this, again, was the timing question was weird to me. So it's possible, let's say I'm interested in going to, let's throw something out, MIT. They have a deadline by which if I'm going to apply, they want my FAFSA information.
They do.
And that could be November-ish, October-ish.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's two, and they send their award letters, they send their acceptance letters on Pi Day, by the way. That's when MIT sends them out. It's Pi Day every year, March 3rd, March 14th.
I have to wait until March 14th
for their acceptance letter for the upcoming year for March 14th. So they send those out on Pi Day.
Oh my gosh.
I digress.
That's a good one, though. Yeah.
Useless tidbit. Sorry. But you want to file the FAFSA, get it done. There's no benefit to dilly-dallying. And you want to make the deadline of the college you're looking at. You do not want to be late.
Right.
Meet that deadline.
So unlike the situation that I was in many, many years ago when I was applying for college, when I literally decided to apply to the college that I ended up at 3 days before the application was due, which happened to be December 31st. Today, the colleges want my FAFSA information way before that. I need to know essentially where I want to apply.
Ideally.
Yeah.
In the best case, 100%. If you then contact most of the schools 2 days after their preferred date for the FAFSA, they will say, file it.
Right.
Get it in.
It's preferred day.
Exactly. And there's no benefit to missing a preferred day, and we encourage it. We want that to get done. Don't miss a deadline, and there's no benefit to dilly-dallying. Get it done. But there are many states where the funds are given on a first-come, first-served derby basis. And so these articles are really written based on 10, 11, 12, 13 states where it's first come, first serve, and the money could be gone on October 4th.
But Indiana is not like that.
No.
Nice.
And that's why these national stories scare the heck out of people. And we get questions. Purdue said November 1 or IU Bloomington said November 1. If I don't have it done by October 7th, all the funds are gone. And that's not the case. But in Kentucky or Louisiana, that might be the case.
Okay, interesting. But still, really, it behooves me to get that stuff in by the time that the colleges want the information.
100%. Never miss a deadline. FAFSA opens on October 1. College deadlines often start about November 1. Do not miss a deadline. And the other reason not to dilly-dally, you might not think you're interested in the school with the November 1 deadline. You're interested in the school with the December 1 deadline, but on November 15th, you have a change of heart.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're interested in the school with the November 1 deadline and you missed it, even though you didn't think it was a deadline for you.
Yeah.
Get it done.
So wait, you're saying that I should, if I have any inkling that I might want to go to that school, potentially, get the FAFSA done.
Get it done
as fast as possible, essentially.
There is the most simple way that I can say it is after October 1, there is no upside or benefit to waiting. By the same token, people get very frantic on October 4th, October 7th, to the point of thinking they've missed everything, that they are in a really bad place. And that's the part that we try to calm people that's really not the case.
Tell me if I got this right from my extensive research. So in the FAFSA application or FAFSA form, I indicate which colleges, universities, what have you, that I want to get the information. So I don't need to send it myself individually. I'm just, and there's room for 20 of them or something, or is there an unlimited number of schools?
It's 20. It used to be 10. And the first question we would get every night is, what if I'm interested in 11? And the cap was 10. So you could send it to 10, and you're correct. You do not have to send it. The schools that you list will get that information, and only those schools, no one else is welcome to look at it. And now in the past year, it was expanded to 20. So you can list up to 20 schools who will get that information. No one else is. The good news is you don't have to do a thing. The bad news is if some other wild card school comes into the mix, remember to go into the FAFSA and update that list. Drop somebody else, add somebody else in.
Oh, okay.
You can absolutely go back and edit it later.
So I can do that digitally.
Yes.
I don't need to print something out and send it to them.
Those days,
snail mail.
Those days are long gone.
Okay.
Yes, you just go in and edit the list.
Now, this still is not the same thing as applying to the school. I still have to apply to the school via the method that they require.
100%.
Right, and meet that deadline.
100%.
But they want the financial information.
The schools are trying to make a class. And they're also trying to see what is the need at the same time that the Board of Trustees is determining budgets. The state is determining budgets. The federal government is setting Pell levels. There's 28 different financial things going on at the same moment. And so the college having thousands of applications of people saying, I am interested, really helps their work. It behooves everybody to get them what they need so you're in the mix and being considered. It's not always possible, but it's definitely ideal.
At what point, I'm just going to use the word college as a blanket term for this post-secondary stuff. At what point does the college reach out to me and say, well, here's what here are the kinds of aid that we offer that you would be able to get.
So these are the strategies. These are the strategies, and especially in the last couple years with the FAFSA being broken, the FAFSA didn't launch for 3 months 2 years ago. It was delayed with glitches last year. And so the colleges were asking for the information. The FAFSA didn't even exist. And so the schools were reaching out to families trying to get the job done. And the stories are legion of all the different practices that the schools were undertaking in a really difficult time. Yeah. So this year might be our first normal year in many years where there could sort of be an orderly process, right? So you'll get information in the fall where schools start to do the process of, hey, we're very interested in you. And I'll use my own example, even though it's a few years ago, but it's a great example. But overall, the schools reach out and start working with the families. But then that full formal award letter often comes in the spring, later in the spring. But all these different budgets that are in play are the things that really drive what the school's trying to do to make those official offers.
So it sounds like that once the school gets my financial information, I am in conversation with the school on and off about potential scholarship or other kinds of financial aid the school provide. So the FAFSA has in response to the FAFSA, I've received information saying that you are eligible for X Pell Grant or X federal student loan. I still have to apply for those. Is that correct or no?
Here's the beautiful thing. The FAFSA at the end on the confirmation page will put some general information about possible aid that will be available to you. But it has words like possible, may, estimated amounts, things of that nature. 2 things. Number 1, those are estimates, and you'll get the official amount when the school sends you the award letter for those different amounts.
Oh.
Number 2, you do not have to go file a Pell Grant application. You do not have to go file a special O'Bannon grant application in Indiana. That's all done. You file the FAFSA, the federal government and the state have what they need to get the work done. There's not a special step there.
Okay. But what about the student loan?
The student loan, in your award letter, it will show you all the aid and then show you eligibility for, let's say, $5,000 of a federal student loan. Mm-hmm. And there you would have to apply for the federal student loan because you have to then say, I am going to repay.
Right. So that is a separate agreement.
The loan is a separate agreement.
So to recap, my FAFSA is filed. What happens next?
The FAFSA gets filed. You will get notifications from federal student aid. It's being processed. We're doing our job, these automated things. We have it. We're working on it and things of that nature. And if there are edits, adjustments, tweaks that need to be made, the great thing now, as opposed to the old days where it was paper and post office, the great news now is you can go into the form. You'll get contacted. Hey, this looks off. We need an additional tidbit here. And you go in and make any corrections that are requested. Or it's fine, and then it's sitting there for the state, the federal government, and the colleges to do their work. You've then done your part. And now it's the interactions with the school or schools that has to be the focus of your attention. Unless federal student aid says we need a tweak, we need an edit, we need an adjustment.
Okay. So now I'm just dealing with the schools.
Absolutely.
Okay. I wanted to real quick touch on ways to save for college ahead of time, kind of speaking to, the ways you can prepare. So on the podcast, we talk pretty regularly about 529 plans.
Good.
Like, I think maybe even before my son was born, I think we might have had established 529. If not, it was soon after.
Yeah.
But for folks who aren't familiar, what is the 529 plan?
So the 529 plan is a way to put away money for future education purposes. that has the benefit of growing tax-free. The dollars, the investment growth grows tax-free, and then you can use those funds to pay for education down the road. In addition to that, in Indiana, you receive a 20% benefit for anything that you put into the 529 plan up to $7,500 in a year. So if you put $7,500 into a 529 plan in a particular year, you will be able to knock $1,500 directly off your tax obligation to the state, as long as you are earning income, as long as you have taxable income. That's the one part of that. But you put $7,500 in, it grows tax-free, and you get $1,500 off your taxes, which could even be a direct rebate. If you owed zero, you'd get $1,500 back.
Okay. Wow, that's amazing.
It is such an amazing vehicle to take advantage of. And over, let's say, the last 15 years or so, we know the market overall has gone up and it's done well. And those dollars are growing tax-free and then can be used for those payments as the student gets to a certain age and heads off to school.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you still believe in dollar cost averaging and, the potential for the investment market, equity market to go up between, an average of 6 to 8% every year, you're going to be doubling your money potentially twice
yes.
if you get in early.
Yes. Yeah. And so the immediate 20% benefit off your tax obligation or getting a refund, that immediate 20% is so beneficial. And then over the longer haul, that tax-free growth really makes a difference. And so when we talk to families, the interesting thing, I think, when we talk to families that have a little more and have a little higher income, they are not going to get Pell. They're not going to get certain types of aid. They often can get institutional aid, and then the 529 is a great vehicle for them.
Mm-hmm.
The families that have less ability to really take advantage of the 529 program just because of what they earn, they are often eligible for Pell and the other types of aid, maybe O'Bannon grant or things like that. And so this group gets helped with this type of financial aid, and this group gets helped in a different way, a different type of aid and a different vehicle like the 529. And that's why families often have resources available to help them with the cost of education, but they're not always the same.
This is something that has come up, I'm sure, just talking with my buddies about this. If I've done an amazing job saving money in my 529, let's say I have $250,000 in there, does the fact that I have that available to me, does that put me out of reach of a lot of different kinds of financial aid?
No. You can do well in that. And as we talked about earlier, you can have a very solid income. Mm-hmm. And College Navigator is the best place to prove this. And look at the income groups and then see the average net price of schools. And you can see those that are making six figures and above are still, in most cases, not paying sticker price and getting aid. It's just the type of aid that they're getting. So saving is always a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
We talk to families all the time that are like, I'm not going to save because then I'm not going to get the aid. And overall, that's not the best plan.
But if I'm a 5%er, let's say, I should not just assume that there is no way I'm going to get any kind of financial aid. I should still fill out the FAFSA because there are kinds of financial aid that I can get.
100%.
Okay.
100%. And over the years, in conversations, over time, helping families, the shock when the savings is seen in reality it's wonderful to see. And people are just very surprised. And they said there was no way I was going to file the FAFSA. And we just said, file the FAFSA. Just do it.
Yeah.
and then they see the result, and it can be significant.
So, yeah. What am I missing? And I know there's a lot here. I mean, we can have a separate podcast about paying off student debt, and maybe someday we will. Maybe towards the end of the school year. Are there any other common questions that you get about the FAFSA that we haven't covered?
The most common questions that we get are, I'm not sure I'm going to go. I don't want to file. It's not going to benefit me. It's not going to make a difference. It's too hard. It's too long. It's too difficult. And the most common things we hear once a family gets done is, well, that wasn't so hard. That wasn't so difficult. And I do believe this year we're going to do a lot with taking videos, quick videos, and posting videos. Mm-hmm. Families instantly say, that wasn't so bad. That wasn't so hard. That wasn't bad. But the fear, well-founded over time, is not going to go away anytime soon. Mm-hmm. It's just a weird kind of process, and it's got a really bad reputation. And a glitch a year ago, as they were trying to change the form, technically did not help that perception in any way.
Yeah.
So, but there's help available in Indiana, free help available. It's not as bad as you think. It is a weird process, and you can get through it, and it can really pay dividends.
And your organization will help walk me through it.
100%. Thousands of calls every year, family calls. So you probably can't help me. We probably can. And we walk through and we get it done. And oftentimes now, because of that IRS transfer protocol that's now set, on the phone, the family gets the FAFSA filed. They're sitting in the comfort of their home having a cup of coffee. They're on the phone with us, and they get it done. And they're like, am I done? Do you see a confirmation number? I do. Do you see a little green button? I do. You're done. And they're like, that wasn't bad. We're like, nope. And you get it filed.
All right. That's great to know. I'll be on the phone with you in about 8 years.
We're here. We're here. We're easy to find.
Great. Well, thank you for walking me through this. This is in itself a process, but I feel like I've got a better handle on it.
Thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
My thanks again to Bill Wozniak. And folks, before you get on with the rest of your week, there are several stories in the latest issue of IBJ I want to draw to your attention. First up, Daniel Bradley explains how the city of Westfield plans to take advantage of the international spotlight that's coming with the Live Golf Tournament, scheduled for August 15th through the 17th. Also in this week's issue, Dave Lindquist explores how this summer's Indiana State Fair is turning up the volume on its theme, Soundtrack of Summer. And Taylor Wooten previews new technology that the city of Indianapolis is installing to better manage street traffic. And again, you can find these stories in the latest print edition of IBJ or online at ibj.com. Now, it's quite a bit easier to access all of the latest business news and all of IBJ's data on Central Indiana's business community and economy if you're a subscriber. We're running a promotion right now that gives you complete access for $1 per week for 3 months, just to get a sense of how valuable and useful our content is. Just go to ibj.com and click on the subscribe button. And thanks again for making time this week for the IBJ podcast. I'm Mason King. Hang in there, everybody. We'll be back again next week.
Want to give your team a real edge? The IBJ Group Plan delivers unlimited access to every story, every report, every video from IBJ and Inside Indiana Business for your whole team. Cover some or all of your employees with one simple payment. The more you add, the more you save. It's smart, it's flexible, and it saves you up to 30% off the standard rate. Already have IBJ subscribers in your office? Group up and save big. Learn more and get started now at ibj.com/group-plan.